Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to the Filmmakers Life. We've taken a month off for the holidays, and now we're back. Yay! And I wanted to introduce everybody today to some of my clients who are very much in the middle of working on their films and figuring out what the next steps are with their films. So my name is Joanne Butcher. I am a business coach, and I help filmmakers with everything to do with business and raising money and all that kind of thing. And what we have been doing is raising money, getting films made, and looking at the business side of filmmaking, which is not usually what we as filmmakers are interested in or get to talk about. So that's what we're doing here. And I'm not sure which order I'm going to go in. Maybe I'll go in the order of my longest running client first. So I'm going to start with Chris. And I'm always talking about Chris because now he's about to start making his 4th feature film. And so we're always having lots of fun. Chris is always doing something very, very interesting. So thanks everybody for coming today. As I said, anytime I come up with a reason to bring my clients together, it just is because I love hanging out with you all. And thank you, Lexi, for being here and taking care of us. So Chris, let's start with you. And what on earth ever made you, who is just a very good writer, whatever made you decide, okay, I'm going to make a movie?
Yes, hello, excuse me. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Johnson, and Joanne, thank you for the kind words. I come from the screenwriting world, and this was, oh wow, quite a few years ago. I'm near Sacramento, California, in the north half of the state, and I'm a member of the Capital Film Arts Association. They would put on monthly meetings with guest speakers. Joanne was a guest speaker. She, if you ever want to see your work on film, you have to do it yourself. And this goes for actors and directors and wannabe producers and everything else. And I took her advice to heart and became one of her clients. And she's guided me through 2 feature films that we've completed, have received distribution. They're now currently distributed by Bayview Entertainment, which just purchased Mutiny Pictures, which was where we were previously at. So, and that's worked out well. We are getting back to it after this COVID shutdown. My goal was to do a feature a year. In between my whatever other life responsibilities. But this year, yes, quite a few. But we were able to jump into it. So I'm in the middle of creating a documentary and in the pre-production of a Christmas film. So our documentary is about the small country of Andorra, which is between Spain and France, up in the Pyrenees Mountains. And they've been an independent country for more than 700 years. So how have they managed that? And we're working on that. And we're in pre-production on the greatest Christmas film ever made. And so we are we have a production start date of December 5th. And it'll be a 2-week shoot. It'll be a micro-budget film. So that's where I am.
Chris, is that the new title of the film, The Greatest Christmas Story Ever Told?
Well, close, but it's going to be much shorter and more simple. But I mean, in my mind and the rest of our minds, if we create this positive energy, it will carry through. We're working on the greatest Christmas film ever. If you have that in your mind, it just flows, and you just are more invested in it. And so, I mean, I encourage everyone, if you're doing a horror slasher, tell yourself it's going to be the greatest horror slasher film ever done. Maybe at a low budget, but that's what it's going to be. So that's kind of my positive feeling for the vibe for the week. I kind of was kicking that around, like, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're making the greatest Christmas film ever. So
that is great. Chris knows another of my clients. She just finished production on her faith-based film, because this Christmas film is a faith-based film. Of course, you could have non-faith-based. Yeah, you can have non-faith-based Christmas films. They can be, you could have a horror film that was a Christmas film, right?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, she couldn't come today because she's at work, but we talk a lot about how faith-based is a very underserved audience, a very underserved genre. So faith-based film is a really good choice. And what were the genres of your first two films, Chris?
The first one was a thriller, a detective thriller. And the second was a romantic comedy. And I mean, I can see myself, that's my future niche genre, being in the romantic comedy adventure world. I mean, I don't see myself as a horror person or something like that. It's just not my worldview. So.
And when you made your first film, Bad Detectives, you were the writer, and then you hired a producer and a director. Is that correct?
Yeah. For me, I mean, coming straight out of the screenwriting world, I was ill-equipped to just like jump in and take on these roles. I was, a lot of watching and learning, just seeing how things flowed, taking home lessons, becoming familiar with the process. And so, and then our second film, The Contrast, the romantic comedy, is, I was much more involved in, we had the same, more or less the same producer and director, but, I was, of course, on a micro budget film, we're all really involved, but I was, really there. So for the Christmas film, I see myself directing it, and looking forward to that adventure.
Yeah, so the class that I'm teaching today is called Craft and Career, Taking Your Filmmaking to Another Level. And so, Chris, you are a shining example of taking your career to another level, right? So you were a writer. In fact, Chris has about 5 feature scripts that we have to do something with, but so he made his first micro budget feature, which was a thriller. He made his second, which was a romantic comedy. And I think you're right, that's your genre, that's what you're landing on. But he had a name in his comedy. Then he's making a documentary, which just, I don't know where that came from, but anyway, that was fun. That's come out of nowhere. And then the fourth one will be a faith-based Christmas film. So just yesterday I was talking to my other faith-based client, who said, I don't want to get stuck in a genre, and I don't really think that that's something that we have to worry about these days. I think that if you have one genre that you're really passionate about, that's great, because then you start building your circle of people who are also in that genre. But I don't think we need to worry about being stuck in something. We can easily switch to something else these days. And Chris, if you can continue making a film a year, where would you like to be in 10 years?
Well, that's, if I can stay in this genre, middle America, family, faith-based, or faith, I keep saying faith-friendly. There's big discussion on, is it faith-based or faith-friendly? But
no, you made up faith-friendly. Faith-friendly doesn't exist.
I just kind of, I picked up that phrase somewhere, and I'm like, Yeah, because, it's not a true faith-based film where it follows somebody's life, in adherence to biblical traditions.
Dude,
And
it's
so,
in a church. The leading role is a
yeah,
pastor.
I know. But yeah, I don't know, I guess it's faith-based, but we're still, it's faith-friendly because we have a lot of other, emotional moments to unpack there. I mean, it's certainly not like you're talking about what's not a faith-based film in the Christmas world. A lot of the Hallmark films,
Right.
there's very little, if
No.
anything, to do with faith.
Right.
It's all just about the season of Christmas.
Right.
So I'm dipping my toes more onto the faith side of the Christmas experience. So so we'll see how it comes together, and it may become a true faith-based project, and we would market it in that direction. Um, it's just so wide open right now. I mean, we'll go through everything and get it edited and take a look at it. Or actually, when we're editing it, you know, what will we include that pulls it towards the faith-based or more towards the faith-friendly? That's where those decisions will have to be made.
Right. In the editing, the film gets made in the edit. All right. Fabulous, Chris. I'm just always so proud of you. And when he said he has a lot of other responsibilities, they include three.
Three little people that keep me busy too at the same time. So
they keep very busy.
I can see these little people in our Christmas film, part of the little Christmas children's program. So put them to work. Yes.
That's right. Put them to work. Get them working. That's right. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for coming, and thanks for all your hard work. It's really great. So Mark, I'm going in order of when my clients started working with me. And we're talking about being in the middle of things and what it's like to be in the middle and getting your films made. So where are you in the process of getting your films made?
So I have one feature film. My first feature film is complete and was completed a few years ago and had a limited broadcasting over PBS. About 100 stations picked it up, and it was broadcast about 200 times. I'm working on a sequel to that film, but in the meantime, PBS National has asked, wants to broadcast it 2,000 to 5,000 times over the next 3 years. And so they've asked me to make some changes and corrections and add some things. So even though the film is finished, I'm working on it full time to get ready for this massive PBS broadcast and to raise funds to make the changes that they've requested. So it seems like, as somebody said to me, you really stayed on that pony.
Was that an insult? Oh, was that?
No. She said, I said, God, I'm still working on the film. She goes, yeah, well, you're really riding that horse, really riding it. So whatever, I'm a little saddle sore. But so I have a second film, which is a sequel, is the next generation in my first film. We're about halfway through that. The main character of the film is the great grandson of one of the main characters in Awakening in Taos, my first film. And fortunately, I did all of his interviews, and then he passed away last year. So we're with that project. It's kind of been put on hold while I get the first film ready for national broadcast. We had a lot of museums and universities and art organizations that screened the first film, Awakening in Taos. And we even got a grant from the state of New Mexico through some NEA grant to have
Can,
premieres in the major cities in
can
my
you
state.
tell everyone a little bit about the film, why it's of interest historically and things like that? Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So the film is called Awakening in Taos, the Mabel Dodge Lujan story. And it's about an early feminist writer, independently wealthy socialite from New York, who has written about 7 volumes of memoirs. And she was in 1917, she moved from Greenwich Village, New York to Taos, New Mexico. She ended up marrying a full-blooded Tiwa Indian, which in 1917 was not a very common thing. And they both experienced pushback and prejudice from both of their origins. From he from his tribe almost got ousted from the tribe, and she had, her family kind of didn't understand what she was doing, although her friends seemed to accept the Native American husband better than the Native Americans accepted the white woman as a wife. And together they invited the major modern artists from all over the country and all over the world, D.H. Lawrence, Ansel Adams, George O'Keeffe, and a host of others spent summers with her, or winters. They built a 13-room adobe home that was kind of like, they would host artists. And so it's an interesting story. And Mabel was dealing with issues that are 100 years ahead of her time. She used to have workshops where she taught women, where she had Margaret Sanger, who was responsible for the birth control pill. She would have workshops at her house where she would teach women about birth control and this revolutionary concept that women could enjoy sex as well as men.
What?
Who knew?
Who knew? So the film has a lot of significance. I think it has a lot of significance. I remember when we met Melissa Houghton, who's the head of Women in Film and Television in Washington, D.C., and she was very excited. I think she already knew about Mabel Dodge Lujan as a historic figure, but in New Mexico, she is very, very, very significant. And if any of you know the art of Georgia O'Keeffe, and you see those beautiful flowers, they were all painted at the artist colony that Mabel Dodge Lujan and Tony Lujan founded. So there's a lot of historical significance here. But I think I'm looking at this sort of from the outside, and it's on one hand, it's a great shame to me that you've had to sort of put aside the film about their grandson, which is so interesting, so beautiful, because he left the tribe, his Tiwa tribe, which was part of the American government's removal of Indians from the tribes, and then he came back and became an artist and a medicine carrier, and really did continue his grandfather's tradition. So anyway, we'll get back to that film, but right now this major national broadcast, which is very appropriate for the film, is taking up a lot of your time and attention. And one last question I would also like to bring up is, you, like many of my clients and many filmmakers, also earn income from doing production work. And so over the years, how have you been able to build that business, would you say?
Good question. I mean, I have to say part of it is that projects have come to me through people who like or admire my work. there was a major project that I worked on for the New Mexico Land Conservancy that came. We had a banker who loaned us some production funds against our state rebate, which we got, and he introduced me to the people who were running this organization. So there was some referrals. Recently, I've got a project that I won't tell too much of the details about, but I was on a networking Zoom call, and someone asked me, what I did, and I had my elevator pitch, which was something where I mentioned that I made documentary films, that I like to work with nonprofit foundations that had a cause, and that recently we had done a film for an organization in San Francisco that had a fundraising budget of $500,000 for a 2-month-long event in the Bay Area, and that after we did the video for them, they made they raised $1 million, which was twice what their original goal was. And somebody listening to that said, "Hey, I got someone I need you to talk to." So I guess it's a combination of networking, going after things. Right now, I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and so I've been working on kind of small projects. But this new one would bring me back to the Bay Area, and I probably shouldn't say too much more about it until we have it in a contract with a check that's
Yes.
clears the bank. As
So the
Joe
check clears the bank. Yes.
it's not real. It's not a real job until the check actually clears the bank.
Yes. So, well, thank you so much and good luck. And you have a crowdfunding campaign going right now, which is to pay for all of the, it's so many very, very not very interesting to filmmakers things like E&O insurance,
Closed captioning for the hearing
closed
impaired.
captioning for the hearing impaired, all these things that have to go on when you have a national broadcast. And the campaign is not looking so great because people keep giving money via check, but I think it would be so great if you put the campaign in the chat, Mark.
Okay, I will do that. Yeah, so that's been plagued with little problems. For instance, there was we sent a mass email out on Tuesday, and I was wondering why nothing had I hadn't gotten any response at all to 2,200 emails that were supposed to go out. And I checked back with Constant Contact, and they'd had a server error, which means that the email won't go out for another 24 hours.
Goodness me. I hate to bring this up, but Mercury is in retrograde. So
I like to say that Mercury is in screw up your life mode.
Yes, Mercury is in screw up your life mode. Thank you so much, Mark, and good luck with the fundraising and with the national broadcast.
Thank you.
So Eric, you have been working on a short film, and what that has, I haven't even talked to you since you finished the film. So what was your experience like making this short film? And if Zoom didn't suck when it comes to showing clips, I would have wanted to show a clip because it's really interesting. But Eric made this again a historic piece that's set in what years?
1918.
1918. Yes. That's interesting because Mabel Dodge Luhan went to New Mexico in 1917. So yes, and the costumes and the historic train and all these things is really amazing job that you did. So what was your experience like making this short film that was a big project?
Yeah, Thanks for having me, Joanne. My name's Eric Downs. I'm a filmmaker from Alaska. Just finished my first short film titled A Dreamer's Search. I started working with Joanne in the spring of 2020, right when COVID started. And so my film follows a New York City artist named Rockwell Kent, who had a dream to be a successful painter, and was on the edge of failure and losing out on his dream. And so he decided to take one last swing at it and take a trip to Alaska with his 9-year-old son in the summer of 1918. And he was kind of searching for solitude and a place where he could get away from it all and find his muse. And so after spending six months out on a remote Alaskan island, he found what he was looking for. And so his story, I'd become fascinated with his story 6 or 8 years ago while traveling out to that island. And I started the project as a documentary, and I always kind of thought of myself as a documentary filmmaker. I'd always been a storyteller and always dreamed of becoming a filmmaker. And so I worked for 2 years on the film, starting in 2018 as a documentary. So I really dug into the story, the nuts and bolts of the story itself, did interviews, and but it wasn't until COVID happened that I just wasn't getting anywhere with making the film. And it wasn't until COVID happened that I really had to make a decision to actually make a film or continue to talk about it for years on end. And so that's when I started
discussions about that.
Oh, yeah. And so I knew I had to make this film about Rockwell Kent because he was kind of faced with that same decision. He had to, find the courage, dig deep, take a giant risk, and go for it. And so, yeah, I kind of started over from scratch and just went out into the wilderness and started writing a script. That part was super inspirational, came up with a draft of a script, started connecting with local Alaskan filmmakers and actors. Pre-production, my day job and my career is as a construction manager. So I build commercial construction projects as my career. And so pre-production was definitely in my wheelhouse. That was inspirational and fun to put the team together and build out the schedules and sequencing and stuff, the budgets, all those things. That was fun for me. Production, unbelievably inspirational, bringing a 15-person cast and crew out into the wilderness to go shoot the film. Super fun to share that experience with all those filmmakers, especially in such a crazy time, right in the height of August 2020, right in the height of COVID. So definitely, lots of fear playing in. Are we actually going to be able to do this? And then post-production hit. And so been stuck in post-production for what seems like 10 years, but I think was only 20 months or something. And so that's one of the areas that I learned so much in, that you don't want to approach post-production any differently than pre-production or production. You have to really have a solid game plan for post-production. So now I've just about 6 weeks ago, we completed the film. We did all of our cast and crew, friends and family screenings, starting to share the film with those people closest to it, submitting it to film festivals for a spring film festival run. And now I'm shifting again back into the marketing of the film, which is, I wouldn't say my least favorite part of being a filmmaker, but definitely the most challenging in terms of time management. And
Eric, I'm so excited to hear you say that's my least favorite part about being a filmmaker. I just love hearing you say being a filmmaker.
yeah. Yep. And so I've connected with, I'm starting the process of marketing the film, obviously using as many people that I know that are connected to the story and the artist itself. There's, you know, tons and tons of source material with the artist. And so using all my current network and people I know, and then beginning the process to reach out to build the audience and trying to, you know, build up that audience for the film festival season next year. And, you know, nail down, I'd already, I guess the transition when I went from a documentary that would share facts and figures about this great artist that no one's heard about, to sharing a story that everyone can connect with. I thought it was my job to not just try to convince everyone how great this guy was, but to share a story that a wider audience is going to connect with. And so, you know, throughout the process, all these different themes from the film emerged. You know, the inspirational piece that everyone has a true calling inside them that they need to pursue. The other theme that emerged was the quietest places speak the loudest, that you can seek, you know, deep meaning inside yourself by going out to the wilderness and having your own quiet adventure. And then the father and son piece, which I never really saw coming. I never even considered it really a father and son tale, but it wasn't until, you know, finishing the film that it definitely has that theme as well, and how important that taking young people on these adventures with us can, you know, have such a huge impact on their lives and you know, in your life. So
fantastic. I just checked, and the deadline for Sundance, anybody who is listening, is in 4 days. Are you going to enter?
Oh yeah, we've submitted it to Sundance.
Okay. And then the other two that are around now are South by Southwest and Slam Dance. And I'd really encourage you to submit to those two as well. They have another couple of weeks, but I'd really like to submit to those two as well.
I mean, at this point, we did a small crowdfunding campaign to kind of take the edge off. That was, you know, the exercise of it was the most helpful part, because of, you know, it was one of those questions. Every time I was faced with the question of, is this uncomfortable? I knew I had to push myself to go do it. Of course, it was nice that we did raise some additional funds, but the majority of the project I self-funded myself. And so now we're to the point of submitting to festivals, and it's like, we really haven't cut any corners with the film. So I don't see us cutting any corners with submitting to, you know, the top tier festivals, the mid tier festivals, and then of course, you know, the lower tier festivals. So we're just gonna.
Slam Dance is probably a second tier festival, but it's a very special festival, partly because they were my client, and also because they are a real filmmakers festival. So fantastic experience to go to Slam Dance, and all of the things that they do for filmmakers, really high on my list.
I'll send you my list that I've submitted to. That way.
Great. Yeah, please. And Eric, what would you like to see next happen with this story and this film? Are you going to continue working on it?
Yeah, I'm going to be finishing up the draft of a feature script this winter, as well as I have all the original footage from the documentary. So I'm trying to edit that and figure out if I want to kind of, I'm actually leaning more towards like a web series that could kind of support the short film, the marketing of the short film, versus doing such a deep dive and trying to produce a short documentary or a feature documentary. I kind of want something light and quick that's gonna engage the audience versus, you know, something that plays at a library or something. And so, yeah, I'm also engaging the estate. I just had a huge meeting with the estate at Plattsburgh State Museum, who owns, you know, all the rights to the artist's work. And so, as well as my next steps, kind of engaging the family and stuff, so that we can kind of all be on the same page for, you know, the opportunity to produce a bigger project.
Fantastic. That was the original idea. So I'm just glad that you're still moving on that path and getting in touch with the estate. Woohoo! Awesome. So good to see you, Eric. And I can't wait to see what happens with the film. So who is next? I think it's Karen. Yes. What do you mean? Look, go. Karen. Now, Karen has several projects. This is something I always tease Karen about. Karen has several projects that she's working on. What would you like to talk about? Pick your top two.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to reconnect to all my friends. How you guys doing? I'm so good. It's so good to hear about everything that's going on. And I'm glad I met Eric Downs, because I do plan on doing a documentary based in Alaska. And I'm glad Mark let me know that he helps with nonprofit, because I recently launched my nonprofit. Matter of fact, today is the National Day of Giving for North Texas. And I am doing a nonprofit starting October the 8th, which is called Family Fitness and Fun. And it is inviting these kids out to come and learn about healthy eating and working out. So that I'm just so excited to be able to do that, because I was on my 50-pound weight loss journey, trying to lose 50 pounds for my 50th birthday. And obviously I have not completed it yet, but I said, let me help the kids, because I saw a kid who was overweight and was walking across the street, and my heart just went out to our kids. And so that birthed my nonprofit called Can We Play, which is based on family fitness and fun. So that is one thing that I am doing right now for the month of October. And I am working on it's time for tax season. So I'm working on trying to get that together. But also I am still in post-production for Greenwood Avenue project, working on doing some editing.
Tell us a little bit about the Greenwood Avenue project.
Well, Greenwood Avenue project is based on the race massacre that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. And it's from the perspective of the people who live there, that was born there and lived there. And they're sharing their experiences of being raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma after the race riot, after it was rebuilt in 1925. And so I just love being able to bring the community or a regular person's story to life. I think that is my part. I don't know if it's my burden or whatever, but I think every story is powerful. And these people don't necessarily have to be famous people. Everybody has a powerful story. And I think I just love being able to do that. And so it was such a joy back in February that we did a premiere, and I had all these most of the people were older people, but to bring them out to be able to see themselves on the screen just did my heart, just baked my heart. Just them being able to see themselves and be a part of something that we put together for a community of people. So that's what Greenwood Avenue project is about. So that's it.
That's fabulous. And one of the things that Karen and I talked about a lot working together is the concept of how significant it is for people to see themselves on screen. And I shared a story with her about Sergio Giral's film that showed, his films were all about Afro-Cubans, but they go from the beginning when the first Africans were enslaved and brought to Cuba. And when I first saw that film, I was completely speechless, and I realized I had never seen my ancestors who were Caribbean enslaved people on screen. I had never seen that before. And I was supposed to be doing a Q&A at this film, and I couldn't speak. And that's how powerful it is to see yourself on film. And Karen, you had some people actually talk to you about that, right? With this film and then with your uncle's film.
Yes, yes. So, yeah.
What did they say to you about the experience?
Okay, and when I also did a documentary about my uncle who got inducted to the Hall of Fame for playing basketball as a coach and a player, and he just recently had a third induction. And so I took it to my hometown, Morrilton, Arkansas, and the people, they was just like, "Oh my God, this is great! This is great!" I'm just like, "Wow." It amazed me that they were amazed. And I was just like, what if we did something like that every year? Just take someone from the town and tell about their story and invite the community out, and let everybody come and celebrate that person's life or what that person has done. And I think you can kind of go to it as far as a legacy type of movie, because with COVID, people were dying so quickly. And, I can't even remember. I know my grandma, she did tea cakes, but to be able to sit down with someone older and let them reminisce on something that we can take into generations, well, we can do that through a film and just interviewing and just bringing that out. And that's something that you can hold on tangible pass it down to generations. And I think that is very important, to just say everybody's story is powerful, because you just never know how it can impact the generations to come.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that it's really your, everybody who's already spoken, everybody has a particular eye, as a director, as a filmmaker, and your particular eye is very much about this concept of ordinary people. You don't have to be a famous, but even though your uncle is famous in Arkansas, but you don't have to be a famous person to have a great story to share. And the people who now live in Greenwood, whose grandparents probably either survived or didn't survive the massacre, the people in your uncle's film, and then the people that you interview on your TV sports show as well, and who are those people? Tell us about those people.
Well, I have a sports talk show called Can We Talk Sports, and was birthed on just serving the football team in DeSoto, Texas. And just the fact that, you have parents and stuff that come through the program and nobody ever comes back to give powerful information that the next person may need in making a decision. And so from just serving the football team, God birthed Can We Talk Sports. And so that is where the commentators are sports moms. We're the one that gets asked the question, but we interview people from whether they're athletes or professionals, but anything that sports parents need to know about their kids' sports journey, So yeah, we interview everybody.
Karen has a show she calls them sports moms, but moms whose kids are being drafted into college programs and so on, don't necessarily know the process and what's going to happen to their kids in that process. So that's what her show focuses on, which I think is another whole set of people whose stories are never told. Moms.
Right. It's time. It's time for moms.
Kids are being offered money and goodness knows what else, and all of the complications of that. So fabulous job, Karen. Always great to see you, and good luck with everything. And I can't wait to see Greenwood Avenue.
Me too.
Next month, I think. Well, next month is the goal.
I hope so.
Right? Yes. Fabuloso, fabuloso. Anthony. Now, all filmmakers are my heroes because filmmaking is very hard, but when somebody says to me they're going to be working in animation, I'm like, oh wow. And then animation and a musical, and that's Anthony. So you're my triple hero, triple hero.
Maybe even Shiro.
Hero, that's what it is. So Anthony, whatever made you decide you were going to make an animated feature?
Hey everyone, my name is Anthony Hand, and I'm making a movie, producing a film called Maxi Luau Drag Super Shiro. And it tells the story of Simon, a shy young barista who finds a magic wig that turns him into the titular drag super shiro, Maxi Luau. And I think it might have been a moment of madness, honestly. Now, but there was one afternoon on a Saturday, I kind of allowed myself some time to like not be distracted and to just daydream and and enjoy some time in my thoughts. And for me, this is unusual because I'm constantly like reading or watching TV or hanging out with friends or something else. And I started meditating on the idea of what it means nowadays to be a queer LGBTQ plus superhero. Like what does this really mean, and how could we kind of rethink what it means for our community? And no offense to all the straight folks here and allies, but all the messaging is about straight people and very much straight people's problems and everything, and all the movies and pop culture. So I wanted to think a little bit more about like what it means in the queer community to have a superhero and the kinds of issues we face and the kinds of ways we'd solve things, but also have fun and still enjoy the camp aspect of it. And I really did settle after sort of daydreaming about it for a while. I settled on a drag queen, and if you watch RuPaul's Drag Race, then you have probably seen those confessionals and conversations the queens have in the workroom as they're getting ready for a show or a runway or something. And for many of them, they talk about how drag is their armor, it is their protection, and it is also the kind of artifact that helps them kind of like take on a new persona that is stronger and more confident and more capable and bolder, and RuPaul herself, she says that drag reveals who you are inside. And so as I started playing with these ideas more and meditating on them more, I came up with a story about this barista who finds this magic wig, and then it took a long time to really figure out and flesh out what the story was, but I'm so happy and thrilled with where it's gone.
Simon is really shy. I mean, Simon is going nowhere. Simon is going nowhere except to the next shift at the coffee shop, right? Yeah. And then what happens to him?
Yeah, and so this longtime crush comes into the bar, one of the kids from high school. He's been K through 12 in this small town, and he can't ask him out. He just sort of daydreams about asking him out, can't do anything. And after he finds this magic wig and has adventures, he starts to discover that he has this inner power and inner confidence, and it's really, and in that way, it's really like a coming of age story, honestly, that we can all relate to, as we go from kids relying on our parents to do things, make decisions, everything else, to adults where we have to start learning how to adult and make our own decisions and figure out all the problems at work or financial or whatever the case is. That's a hard process and something I'll go through.
And so, Anthony, I'm just amazed at how much you have done on this film. Where exactly are you in the process right now?
Thank you so much for that. So this is a 26-month production, and we kicked off the Indiegogo last September 15th, and we raised $52,000, which buys a lot of duct tape and glitter. So thank you. And we were able to get all the voiceovers recorded last fall. This spring, I worked with some songwriters, and we brought in Angie Fisher, who is an amazing vocalist, Grammy nominated. Her song IRS is fantastic, and I'll stick it in the chat later. And so we dropped her vocals and put together these songs very recently, and now we're editing them for the film, as we need to stretch things out and shorten things down and everything. I'm really, really thrilled with how the music is turning out. And through this time also, we've been doing the pre-visualization and the storyboards, which is the animatics, so animated sketches to kind of get a feeling for camera angles and zoom distance and everything like that. And so we just finished that process. I'm so thrilled. We are landing about 92 minutes long in the storyboards, and I think we're probably going to end up about 93 or 94 for the excluding the opening scene and the end closing credits, you know, for the content of the film. And so we've started principal animation last month, and this will last another 10 months or so till next summer. And then we start a 6-month post-production phase. So, you know, all things, we're on track, we're tracking the schedule, which is great. So hopefully we can, you know, complete on schedule at Christmas of 2023 and then launch the film festivals.
Maybe some people will be able to guess that you are a project manager in your real life, because
So
it's a big project.
big project.
26 months, and then to be on time and be going according to schedule is so incredible. What an amazing achievement.
Thank you. So my day job, I'm a software designer, but that does have many elements of project management, let me tell you. So.
Yeah, software designer. Yes, this is true. So, and then 6 months post-production. So Christmas 2023. Amazing. It doesn't sound so far away now. That's
no, it doesn't.
A year, right? That's basically a year. Unbelievable.
Can you believe how far I've come with this project in just the 12 months since we last, you know, really dove into things last summer?
It's really impressive. It's really impressive. As I said, all filmmakers are my heroes, but animation, oh my God, it just, you know, it's so many more layers being the way animation works.
Yeah, and it helps to have great partners. I think some other folks have hinted at it, but, you know, really do build up a network of folks who, you know, you can work with productively, and, you know, who know their shit, you know, can really bring a lot more to the table than just being a contractor, you know. So.
Yeah, and you know, this is my whole thing about, and we're going to hear now from Jimmy, and same concept, but we raise money so we can hire professionals, right? We raise money to bring in the people who know what they're doing. We don't have to know everything by any means, which I think is another concept of the project manager idea, right? I don't need to know everything if I'm managing a project. Yeah. I just need to be on top of the project, right? So thank you so much, Anthony. Great to see you. As always, every bit I hear about it is just so exciting. Congratulations. So Jimmy, yay! How are you?
Oh, well,
Now, Jimmy,
I am. Go ahead.
You were the inspiration for me getting this group together, because yours is the most recent film, because Eric's was about the same time I got yours, but his was finished, whereas yours, I got a rough cut of your film. And so I was like, oh yeah, so you're kind of in the middle of everything. And so I just had this idea, right? Oh, I want to get some people together who are in the middle, whether it's entering festivals or raising money for blooming E&O insurance. You know, you're very much in the middle. So how did, now you are another one. I'm like, what on earth made you ever think of the idea of making a movie? And
Well,
by the way, anybody
movie?
else who's here will go over about 10 minutes and maybe have a time for a question or two. But Go ahead, Jimmy. Sorry.
So I would say watch the film. The answer is there. My film, what made me decide to do a film? I was going to as a freelancer management consultant in engineering, and I had been reaching out to almost close to 1,000 different people in the engineering private equity space about some sort of engineering project and analysis approach and blah blah blah. And we had begun to get a few maybes, like we may let you come and speak to us for free. We're not sure yet. We'll get back to you perhaps. And I realized that if I'm going to spend 40 hours of my week doing something, is this what I'm going to spend the 40 hours of my week doing? And I realized, no, I would rather spend that 40 hours trying to get a meeting with J.J. Abrams or Steven Spielberg. If that was what I had to commit my 40 hours a week to do, I'd rather do that. That was what made me decide to make a film. What made me decide to make this film was reading an ITVS grant, like 71 pages of like questions, and realizing I never applied for the grant, but I needed to do something that I really believed in for a topic. And I picked Vanishing Women because at the time, based on where I was in my career, I felt that was the only subject matter I felt qualified to talk about, because I was still in a place, Joanne, where I didn't have a lot of confidence in my abilities. And I felt I could do a film in this area because no one could tell me that I'm not qualified enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't have enough experience to do a film on this topic. And to be honest, I'm so... So my movie is called Vanishing Women, and we tell the stories of 3 seasoned women of color in London who were pushed out of corporate due to sexism, racism, harassment, and bullying, how they worked through that trauma and how they have rebuilt their lives and their careers doing work they love on their own terms.
Yes. When I got Jimmy's rough cut, I just want you all to know what she just said sounds very serious, but I cried at this film. It is so moving. And yeah, just fantastic, fantastic work. And so how much film experience did you have before you embarked on this project, Miss Jimmy?
I would say minus, probably like minus, let me minus something, because I feel like my amazing team, and I thank God, I thank Black Santa, Black Jesus, and the Black Tooth Fairy, because the team I have, I feel they're dumber, and I don't, not in a bad way, because they're so brilliant. It's just that they have the infinite brilliance, but I definitely feel like I was sucking the knowledge from their minds, absorbing it like a vampire. And they were so generous. My DP, my editor, my lawyer was like, Jimmy, I believe in you. Don't worry about fees. Just send me anything and I will legal it for you. And my defamation lawyer. So just having people who were like, we will help you. Even my contract lawyer. Yes, I paid for all the work, but he gave me so much advice. Like I still call him and he will answer questions. They just tell me, and just so you know, Jimmy, there's no fee for this. He puts that in the. So I've had so much generosity from the team, but it's been still learning for me. I mean, really is, yeah. So, but I didn't have any experience. My background is operations management consulting, 20-something years of doing that. So Lean Six Sigma, project management, but in the management consulting space, that's what I know.
Yes, I've had other clients who are experts in something but have never made a film, and so you know, and I think that having the experience of running projects, you know, I call it project manager, we call it in film world producer, but in other worlds it's often called a project manager. But once you're somebody, you know, special event manager, you know, once you know that you have to have a project, you have a budget, and then you hire everybody to do the work, that's basically what a producer does. Of course, I consider a real producer the person who raises the money, but that's another story.
There's more, and there's something you said, a producer produces. So even though project management is a big part of it, it's still, having to produce. So getting locations, what do I need to do? Is it money? Is it begging? You know, is it telling a very, you know, is it to get there and just please, please? Is it, oh, and I went to same high school with you. It's just doing whatever it takes to get the film done, because, you know, it's midwifing the whole process and doing whatever it takes, whatever no one's going to do. Okay, I was caterer because we're not going to pay for a caterer. So, okay, there is a Greg's. You may appreciate what that is. There's a bakery nearby. Get your orders. Well, you know, that's going to be catering. Everyone get their lunch order. And it was doing whatever it takes, filling all the gaps that we can't get someone to fill. But I would say, again, just going back to my team, they were so flexible. I mean, they were like, of course, we're not going to have lunch. What are we, princesses? Or princes, in this case of the guys, or royal, but they were really lovely. But yes, definitely producing. I feel the journey of doing this film was like after the fundraising, and honestly, Joanne, I'm so grateful that we raised the funds. I'm also grateful in some ways that Indiegogo held on to 85% of it until we finished production, because it kept us in budget.
Tell everybody how much you raised.
I raised £56,000. So depending on the exchange rate, about $70,000. But not on the exchange rate now, because that's like $25,000, because the pound is like crashing. So who knows how much I raised? But I feel like even having all of that, like I went into the hardware store and now have bought all the stuff that I build a raft, put it on the river, load all the stuff to build a boat, set sail. So now we're sailing on this river, and I'm now trying to build this boat. That's what it feels like now. We're trying to build up this boat as we're sailing down, and just to trust. Don't worry too much about what it looks like. Just put the next piece on. I'm like, okay, I have an idea, but a plan, but we're sailing. It's like, you know, but I know we're sailing. Everyone's like, Jimmy, don't worry, just keep doing your bit. And here, like, and so there's that nervousness around, I don't know what this is going to look like. Nobody, unlike building a building, building a house, you know, designing a garden, designing a dress, we have a concept in mind. With this documentary, I had no idea what it would look like. And we're just continuing and building as we go. And I have enjoyed the process. I really have. I'm in a space right now where I am struggling, not struggling, because I think that's a strong word. I'm in an interesting space now. We're in post-production and we're just finishing off where, you know, we're getting feedback and perspectives. And I'm finding that, you know, I have to, this being my first film, I'm still going to have to I have the vision, and I'm going to have to say, no, even with all your experience, I can't take your advice on how to complete this film. And that's very nervous because, you know, I think of my process is like a cake, like ice cream. I want ice cream. You may want ice cream to eat. You know, I want ice cream to take pictures of. Both valid uses, but what you actually end up creating will be very different, because I believe they use mashed potatoes to photograph ice cream, and you don't, you know, so you can't make a hybrid of like 50% mashed potatoes and 50% ice cream, mix it up and make both people happy, because you'll probably upset both people, and it'll be an abomination.
This is a great note to end on, because I think of everybody here, they've all actually been through this experience that you're talking about. No matter what experience you have, I'm going to say, this is what I want. You know, I think that's a very difficult place to get to, but we have to get there. As filmmakers, we have to get there, because this is your vision and this is your film, and you are the only person who is the expert in your film. And even more so because of your subject matter and so on. But even so, you are the only expert in your film. And so that is a great place to get to. And I think it's a lot to do with, you know, finding our voice and being clear about what's right and what's not going to work, no matter how much experience you have. That's great. That's great. That's an awesome note to end on. And I know we just have a couple of people here, would anybody like to ask a question, or even any of you? Would any of you like to, is there some question that has come up you would like to ask? If not, we'll just come to a close. But if anybody has a question, my question would be, what do you mean you raised $70,000? How do I do that? That would be my question. Mark, is that your question? What's your question, Mark? You're muted. So
Please tell me, how did you raise the money?
yay.
How did you
So one, I work with Joanne, so that's like a big part of it. Honestly, a lot of faith, a little, again, just Black Santa, Black Jesus, Black Tooth Fairy, you know, thank you all, Holy Trinity. But the other piece was LinkedIn. I posted about my campaign two times a week on LinkedIn, and I'm part of it. And so when I did that, it was a couple people who made some large contributions who I didn't even reach out to. But because LinkedIn has such a strong organic reach, I just one evening, numbers dropped in, like, what on earth did this come from? So I definitely would say that using LinkedIn, even with some initial screening events that we are negotiating, we had some random, really like people I never knew saw it on LinkedIn and reached out. And what's amazing about that platform, unlike the other ones, the other social media platforms, again, all lovely. I didn't have there's no advertising. I don't need to put ads behind it. I don't need a massive following. And because some people who reached out to me aren't in my network, but LinkedIn does take your content beyond your network.
How do you,
and then all the filmmakers there.
how do you put that announcement together? I mean, does it, because I know that there are restrictions, but what did that look like if I were on LinkedIn and I saw, you know, what would I'd see your posting or?
A couple things, if it's okay with Joanne. I mean, you send me your LinkedIn address, we can connect and I'll tag you on it so you can see what it was. Happy to share, and again, happy to tag anybody in if you want to see. What I did, just go ahead, Joanne.
No, I was gonna say, one of the things you did not do was say, hey, give to my crowdfunding campaign.
No, well, we kept that towards the end of the post. It was a posting on the film. So I did a video, I did a few different things. I did a video on why I was making the film. I put it up there, shared some text about why I'm making the film, and then to support us, we're trying to raise money. I did a couple posts on donating to the crowdfunding, but it was still around why we're doing this film, why the film matters. That also I did. I also did when I say a concept trailer, it's probably, I'm sure there's a proper thing for it, but I used some stock footage, and I created like a 2-minute video just on the concept of the film, explaining why we're making this film. And the day we loaded, that was when we got some of our big donors that came in and saw that, and that was straight back to Indiegogo. So, wow. But I was consistent in why we're doing, why it's important, and then putting in the link to the crowdfunding site. Indiegogo shows you where the money comes from. So we now look at the Indiegogo breakdown. I could see that most of it came from what I posted on LinkedIn.
I put my email, I don't know my LinkedIn offhand, but I put my email in the chat. So if you wouldn't mind contacting me, I'd really like to communicate with you about that.
And Jimmy put her LinkedIn there. But as I said, I get people who write to me and say, please give to my crowdfunding campaign. It's like, I'm sorry, that's just not going to work, you know. But the fact is that Jimmy has a very big why about why she's making this movie. And so do you. So do all of you. Everybody here has talked about, we didn't talk about it in this language, but a very big why that you're making this movie. Eric talked about the themes that came out that he knew about and the ones he didn't know about. So that's what is going to attract people to come to your film and end up giving to your campaign. And I don't think any of you would do this, but it's just so common to say, hey, please give to my campaign. And I'm just like, for what? You know, there has to be some
why.
something, some why that people would give. So once again, thank you all so much for hanging out with me and catching me up on what you're working on. Fabulous to see you all. And I'll talk to you all soon. Keep in touch. Let me know what's going on with your movies. And you're all my clients. So I posted in the Facebook group, there's a code if any of you want to come to the class. So there's a code that you can come to the class. And thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks.